Thing of the week, thing of the week, it's your ink thing of the week. Yeah! Hello there. So, Bigme has recently released a new update. This is for the Bigme Inknote Color Plus, although presumably this would apply to the Bigme Inknote Color Lite as well. And here on the screen is a summary of some of the changes that they've implemented. And we're going to go ahead and go through a few of these in this video today. Now, the first one I'll point out is that they've changed their apps so that they've added some color. So some of their system apps were originally in black and white, and now they've kind of added this kind of light blue color. And in addition to that, you can see here on the sidebar that how they kind of highlight and invert the color when something is selected. So kind of cool. I think this reflects, though, in my mind, about how Bigme is trying to emulate books, because this color scheme, specifically the blue, is very reminiscent of the blue in the Note Air series, particularly the Note Air, specifically the Note Air 3C, and that's same UI and color scheme has been used in past Kaleido devices as well. So this feels like definitely trying to kind of emulate that, since the color scheme, or the color, blue color specifically, is exact to that. And I think what we're seeing too with some of the other changes in the Notes app is adding functionality to try to match up with books as well. So let's do that. Let's move in to the Notes app and look at the changes there. So now when you start a new note, you have the option about whether you use kind of the old style or the new style, which they call Note Plus. This is kind of curious. I'm not sure, now that they've added these changes to Note Plus, why you would go to the old Note style. I guess it's a little simpler in the menu, yeah, it seems like you would go for Note Plus most of the time. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look and see what's new there. All right, so a few things. First off, you can see here you've got layers, and this allows for 5 layers. So that's pretty much comparable with what Books does in their note-taking device. So that's definitely was a missing feature previously, so it's great that they've added that in. The canvas now allows not just to be what you see on the screen, but you can see different configurations, and this as well is similar to what Books does, so that's pretty good. There's a new lasso feature, which is curious. Used to call this crop in the previous one, but let me go ahead and write something in there. Let's go ahead and click on lasso. So you end up with this highlight. If I click on the X, it will delete it. If I click on either of the squares, that allows me to move the lasso. And then if I click on the circle, then I can then rotate the lasso. We can go around and around like so. And of course you have your custom items like copy, paste, and cut as well. Let's contrast that to what was there before. So let's get out of this real quickly. We'll save the file, it's fine. And we'll start a new note, but we'll go to the classic format. So if we do the side bar here, you'll notice that there's this option called crop. So let's take a look at that. It's selected even though it doesn't have an arrow. Let's go ahead and highlight that. So you don't have those edge icons, you just have the box. You can click on it and move it just like before. So it was a simpler version. So they've added more functionality essentially and labeled it lasso instead of crop. So that's the primary difference there. Okay, let's go back. And we'll go ahead and delete that file. Go back here. The last thing I'll show here in the Notes app, this is the Notes Plus app again, is that there's the eraser function is a little more, a little cleaner in terms of its options. If I double click on to select, click again, you can see that they have the different eraser types and the ability to clear layers, which makes sense now that they've introduced layers. Previously, this was pretty cramped in the UI, so they did a nice job of cleaning it up and making it look better. And here's an example of what it looked like before. So that's a nice improvement. Okay, so one more change that I want to highlight is that they have added to their AI app, and it's this app here that's labeled ChatGPT. We're going to go ahead and click on that. And what's new, before you had chat and you had composition, and chat is, for those that don't know, is what you'd expect. You can ask questions and then it will search the internet for answers. It can also create some compositions for you. You just have to give it some parameters. But what's new is this AI draw. So let's have some fun with that. It is interesting that everything is in Chinese here, but you can still type in your description in English and it does work. In this case, I said dragon with a football helmet and it created this thing here. Why don't we go ahead and have some fun with this and see if we can get it to do something different. Let's talk about an eagle with a balding, balding head. I'm typing on my Bluetooth keyboard, so let's go ahead and start that and see what it generates for us. It's going to take a little bit as it pings the internet, but it will eventually return an image. And we'll be patient, just as the message suggests. And there we go. Okay, interesting. Looks like it's just gave a ball-headed eagle. That probably wasn't the most fun example I could have come up with. Let's try something else. A beach with skyscrapers coming out of the sea. Let's see what it can do with that. And of course, it's going to take a few minutes, although I don't think the last image took that long. All right, and here we go. Let's see how well it did. Yeah, it did decently. Kind of gives me the impression that these aren't coming out of the water. So that's my bad. Probably should have done a better query, but I will point out that it does create a PNG file, and then presumably you can see there's a number of options down below. You can take that PNG file and put it in notes or whatever. So yeah, pretty interesting. So those are the major changes. I think the overall theme is that Bigme is trying to bridge the gap with books and trying to emulate books. Not a bad thing. I think that's a smart move on their part in general. But then the AI thing is an area where they're trying to distinguish themselves. Books doesn't have an equivalent of this that I'm aware of. So it's kind of a nice add, and they've added the functionality to it with the images. So there you go. That is the main highlights from the latest Bigme update.